Hey guys, I'm back. So, anybody that's looking to do the Edelbrock Victor Jr. intake upgrade, I can give you some key pointers here, right? So, having to go through this right now, there's a couple of different options you go with. And one is your throttle body. So, you can either do the plated version, which is what I had. Right, so it's, you just put your plenum on top of a plate and it converts it, right? That's pretty much all it is. And then you can just use this. Works all right. Looks a little funny, I think, just because you got this nice intake and then you got this little throttle body sitting up on top of this adapter. So other than visually, it ran pretty decent. I was getting some weird stuff at certain RPMs. So instead of trying to trace it down in the tune, I already had the elbow and stuff. I was like, oh, let me just finish ordering what I needed to make this thing work. But you will need a different throttle cable depending on the type of throttle body you go with. And then your intake elbow, that's another choice. There's 3 or 4 different ones you can run with. But then the problem you run into is height. So if you look here, you can see if you don't run spacers, that's a 1-inch spacer. So if you don't run the spacer, it's gonna be pretty tight right above that. So it doesn't give you much space. Now, the 3848 does do a down position angled so it clears the hood, and I don't have any issues, but I also run, a 3 1/4 inch cowl hood, right? So I don't have a stock hood on here. So it clears fine. I don't have any issues with that. And then the other thing that you run into is your IAC, right? So you can see I ran a 2001 Ford Taurus IAC. It plugs in the same plug. You just have to extend the wire. But the nice part is it doesn't have the inlet that you have to worry about plugging a hose into. So in this particular AccuFab, the F90K, there's a hole right in front of the flap, and then there's another one right behind the flap. So that allows that not to have an air hose hub to it. It's going to just grab it from the front of the butterfly and dump it when it needs it behind the butterfly. So that's the easiest way to do it. Plugs right in, you don't have to worry about it. Now the TPS, you have to run a Fox body TPS on this particular one because it is a Fox body throttle body. You can run an LS one, which then now you have to get a GM adapter, the GM TPS, but it should have the right throttle. This particular throttle one, as you see, it has the stud. So you need to run a cable. That cable is gonna be a 36-inch cable. We'll run right around 26 inches with the factory cable, which is way too short. 36 will put you right where you need to be at. I've got one coming tomorrow. And then what I did was for my vacuum lines, I just got a 1979 Ford, manifold vacuum tee that I plugged in for my AC, my fuel regulator, and then my map sensor, which I have right here because I'm on an MS3. The fuel lines plug in right here, so I just have an elbow. Well, actually I got a T. I did something a little different here. So I've got a T with one of those low dollar fuel pressure sensors here. So that hits my gauge inside the car, and then I have a gauge out here so I can see what that's actually doing. So that's the pump. That's what I hear from the pump right here that hits my MS3, can read it, and then I can see what it does at the fuel regulator, so whatever the fuel bar pressure is. So I've got it in 2 spots. And then you just run your regular AN fuel lines, comes down, and I have these Russell connectors. So right there where the hard lines go, they just do a quick connect right there, boom, on both. And then they come out, they're just the stainless ones. One goes the return, that's my return. That's a feed in. And then the other one goes to the other bar. Then the next thing you have is clearance, right? Because now you have this big pipe with a clearance issue. There's a couple of different ways you can route this, depending on the elbow you went with. I was thinking about a different spacer with an elbow, and then you can come straight off the top, right? You can come off the top and then down. I thought that would look pretty cool. But Spec, this is Specta. They make these couplers, right? So I just did these ProFab couplers. They're pretty decent. And then the K&N filter. I'm just gonna keep it right here for right now, but eventually I'm gonna route it through and then come down and then back around, because I'm gonna actually do a Pro Charger on this. But that's kind of where we're at with this. It's almost done. But those are the key things, right? It depends on your throttle body, and you're just gonna need a bunch of different hardware, because it doesn't tell you what you need, right? It does come with this spacer, came with the long carburetor bolts for it, so you can have enough space to lock it down, and then you know, your brackets for your different throttle that you have to worry about. Just depends on how you want to route it.